Okay, we're back here again. So, like with my PVZ1 review, this is a re-upload of a video from June of 2023. The same things I did in the last video I'm going to be doing here, and the reason why it's being re-uploaded is the same as the other one too. Basically, this video is just a re-release. If you've already watched it, it's not going to change much. That's all I have to say. Enjoy the video. Hey guys, how you doing? Actually wait, before we start here, can I real quick run by a game concept I've been thinking about recently? Cool. So I want to make a game that's exclusive to, say, Xbox Game Pass, right? It'll be a different take on a franchise that we know and love, something like Call of Duty. This game would be like top-down. Now, here's the interesting part. People are going to really like this game, but I'm going to shut it down after 1 year. What do you think? Is this too on the nose for you? Okay, let's be completely honest here. PVZ Adventures is a weird game. It's one of those games that you've most likely heard about in passing in PVZ conversations, but you've never really understood it to the fullest. And hey, listen, I myself have been in that position too. This game came out on Facebook Gaming, for crying out loud. How was I expected to understand a game that was competing with Farmville? Now, while this game is currently unavailable, I felt like I had to cover it in this retrospective series I'm doing. I mean, seriously, it's PVZ Adventures. It's pretty important context for this franchise. So with that being said, welcome back to said series. And in today's video, we're going to be covering PVZ Adventures, what made it special, and what ultimately happened to it. Because trust me, that's pretty interesting. This game is a really fascinating topic, so I don't want to waste any more time with this intro. Let's get right into it. Now, to start out here, we'll need to briefly go over the background of this game. Context is important with this franchise, and seeing how PVZ1 did amazingly well just a few years prior, PopCap decided to work on another PVZ game. No, not you. We're talking about the other one. There we go. That's the one. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, PVZ2 being here is absolutely foreshadowing, just letting you know now. But anyways, there's not much more historical context I can give this game. Really, it's unnecessary. So with that being said, I'll briefly discuss how this video is going to be sectioned up. We'll start with the story, then the gameplay, then the extras, and finally the closure of this game as well as the future for it. Okay, so with all of that listed out, it's time to dive into the first topic, that being... So Adventures didn't really have a story, so to speak. It's similar to PVZ1 in the fact that you're generally just trying to survive. However, with this game, the survival gimmick was cranked up to 11, as you were almost trying to save and rebuild the town you lived in. Huh. That is really ambitious. It may not seem like a massive jump from PVZ1, but it's a big enough story change to where it almost felt like you were actually building towards something. I mean, you were making progress on a map that was always changing, and that's just kind of cool. Now obviously, there's more here that we could talk about, but the very fact that Zomboss didn't appear in this game should tell you that, realistically, there's not much else I need to add here. So with all of that being said, let's move on to... Alright, now we're at the main course of this video. This is where PVZ Adventures separated itself from every other tower defense game in the franchise. So in my previous video, I praised PVZ1 for its creativity in the tower defense genre, as the game was basically a trendsetter for its time period. It did a lot of things very uniquely, and that's very commendable. So, what did Adventures do to this established formula? Well... Yeah, so Adventures kind of threw out almost everything unique that PVZ1 did. It's a weird change, to say the very least. Here, you were basically playing a regular tower defense game, with the whole isometric camera angle and straightforward paths everywhere you looked. It feels like a step back, I'm not gonna lie. But to make up for essentially dumbing down the gameplay, a whole lot of changes were made to make this experience unique. Now, I'm not gonna bore you with the less noticeable details or the stuff that just doesn't matter in a video like this, but I'm still going to be discussing quite a bit here, starting with plant range. This gimmick existed in PVZ1 with some plants, but here, oh boy. Pea shooter, my guy, he's right there. Just shoot him! Okay, but all jokes aside, this is something that had to be put in this game since it followed in the footsteps of other tower defense games so closely. I mean, Pea Shooter killed browncoats in like 3 shots. Yeah, there had to be a compromise made somewhere here. Another major change is how zombies got to your house or RV or, well, home, I guess. Here, they approached your lovely abode by walking on the path or paths you saw on the various levels. Now, this may seem a bit strange to you. how could your defense lose if the plants you placed were almost never on the path? Well, the zombies would still eat your defenses once they got close enough. So you could essentially place all of your sunflowers at the back as an example, but then they would eventually have been consumed if they were in the way of the zombies' path. Now, here's the thing, plants were never actually destroyed in this game. They could be revived after a few seconds of being fully eaten, which is quite an interesting take to say the very least. So yeah, this actually separates adventures from conventional tower defense games, which feels even more backwards than just reverting back to the classic tower defense formats. This is weird. But okay, I guess this does make sense. So now we come to the biggest change of them all, and that is the new roster. We have returning plants and zombies, obviously, but you know what else we got here? New friends and new foes. I have to admit, this is where I feel like a lot of the creativity for this game went. We had some pea shooter clones, like, let's not get ahead of ourselves here, but we also had some really unique stuff, such as the asparagus, which was basically a stronger yet slower pea shooter that had more range. And let's not gloss over the zombies too. We've got quite a few new faces here as well. I think my personal favorite is the barrel zombie, which was basically this game's newspaper zombie, only this one loses his barrel. Then he ran quickly while being almost naked. PopCap was on some of that good grass when they came up with this guy. Now, all of this combined to make a very unique experience with this game. It played like a normal tower defense game, but there's enough changes here to the point where it was simply not normal. I actually like this a lot. It seems basic, but it's quite interesting as well. Now, there is one small thing I left out of what I've discussed so far, and it's actually a pretty big deal. How do I put this lightly? The game was free to play. I'm so sorry to the people out there who just had their fight or flight instincts activated by hearing that. My bad. Okay, fine, we'll address the elephant in the room. When this game was available, it was free to play. And you know what that means? Oh, so it just works like PVZ 2? Wrong, you're stupid. This is a Facebook game we're talking about. That can only mean that things are about to look pretty bad. So there were multiple things in the gameplay itself that got affected by monetization. There was stuff in the game like VIP plants, which is something that the Chinese PVZ games love to dabble into, but that's not really all that bad. These were just upgraded versions of existing plants. So while they are pay to win, they weren't actively holding back your progress, which is something that I can't say for the other monetization. This game used time as a way to get money out of your wallet. Now, what does that mean? Well, let's put it like this. You had to wait for your plants to grow in order to use them in levels. And guess what you could do to speed up that process? You could buy time off of the plants. Now, the time that it took for plants to grow wasn't all that bad, but the fact that it was here regardless should really tell you everything you need to know. This game had rough microtransactions. Now, there's obviously more gameplay features that I didn't discuss here, such as the whole friends gimmick, but knowing the fate of this game, I feel like there just isn't a reason to discuss much of anything else. So let's move on to the other stuff, that being... This section is short, but there was still some pretty neat side content in this game. As an example, I did briefly mention the town aspect of the game before, but there's honestly a lot more to unpack here. It's like you were almost playing SimCity while also playing PVZ. That is weird, and I like it. It's not like the system was super in-depth or anything, but the fact that it was here in the first place is really interesting. And on top of that, there was also another set of side content that also intrigues me, that being Brain Ball. With the town you built up, now you would have to attack other towns and defend your own. So basically, you fought friends or strangers in this game mode, and you could train zombies to invade their town so that you got some rewards out of it. If you need a direct comparison to an already existing property out there to fully understand this, it was basically like playing Clash of Clans. It's so weird, but it looks like it worked really well in this game. There was even leaderboards for it. Now obviously, it was pay to win, but still, it's a really neat idea, and frankly, I'm amazed that more people don't talk about it. But honestly, that's about all we've got here. This game's side content wasn't lacking in any way, don't get me wrong, but there's simply not much to look at, which is kind of a shame. But I think I'm going to save my true conclusion on this game for our final section here, that being... So, if you haven't been living under a rock, you would know that PVZ Adventures closed down not long after launch. Like, we're talking just over a year after it came out. Now, this is technically not when it lost support. Like, the game did actually close its doors permanently in 2014, but the interesting part here is that this game was deemed dead well before 2014 even came around. See, if you take a look at the update history of this game, you'll notice that the game completely stopped getting updates 3 months after it launched. So the game was stuck in a purgatory for over a year after its final update. That's just insane to me. Imagine making a free-to-play game and then just abandoning it for a few months after it came out. Now, I tried to look into potential reasons for why PopCap gave up so quickly on the game, and I have a couple of theories. First of all, PVZ 2 launched a couple of months after Adventures did, and its update cycle really started ramping up when Adventures was dropped. So yeah, I believe that PVZ 2 did kill Adventures in some kind of way, whether it was intentional or not. I also believe that PopCap genuinely didn't want to work with Facebook, but that theory is a little more out there. Now frankly, those answers are a mere segment of the truth sitting in front of us. This game was simply not all that popular. You had to have a Facebook account to play it, and even in 2013, some people were opposed to doing that. So yeah, that already hurt this game's popularity just by design alone. It was also pay to win, and to top it all off, the game was simply too different for most people to get into it. I think all of this and more led to the inevitable downfall of this game, but that's just my take on it, and luckily we don't need to sit around and argue about it much because the future is now. There are multiple fan projects that are going on that aim to essentially rebuild PVZ Adventures from the ground up. The biggest ones that deserve some spotlight in this video are the duo of Road Trip and World Tour. Road Trip aims to remake just about everything about the original Adventures game, and World Tour is essentially a custom level maker and player. These are both super interesting, and if you are at all interested in PVZ Adventures, I highly recommend checking out both projects. I'm going to leave links in the description for both of the Discord servers and the Game Jolt pages. Seriously, these projects are so cool. And I suppose that's just about everything I could cover about this game here. Trust me, there is a lot more to talk about, but it's PVZ Adventures. The game hasn't really been around since 2014, so does it really matter? Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, Adventures really is a fascinating topic. It's something that truly is cool. And I think if it was executed much better than it was here, then it could have been a truly amazing game. But PopCap will be PopCap, and it didn't get executed very well. So, yeah. This game definitely had its problems, but there was an audience for it, and ultimately, there's a reason why the game is so fondly missed. Now with that being said, I do think this game is meh, but that's ultimately just my opinion. What do you guys think? Tell me in the comments, and while you're down there, go ahead and predict what I'm going to say about PVZ 2, because trust me, this one's controversial. Believe me, I would know. Also, if you're new around here and you like what you see, then maybe consider subscribing. It helps me out a ton, and I'd really appreciate the support. But yeah, with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and mentally prepare myself for PVZ 2 because, I'm gonna upset a lot of people when I talk about it. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in that video. Peace.